So I had a really wonderful time on the trip with everybody. I loved getting to know all the students from Central and really getting to know all my colleagues a lot better too. It was wonderful to see everybody get so excited about seeing in person all of the things that we've been studying all semester. One of the things that I've learned from Professor Wilcox, first of all, is about structuring the humanities class, and I'm already thinking about things I would want to do in my humanities class to prepare my students for the event. I think I would include things like music and art and literature, since I'm a literature lover. I really enjoyed everything about the trip, and I think really the thing I enjoyed the most was just watching everybody be in a state of wonder. It's so different to look at something on a screen in a classroom in Houston, Texas, and then instead there you are in Venice on a Vaporetto with all the people who are using that, like the bus, and you're there and you're really involved in the flow of the city. In terms of what I learned, oh gosh, I learned a lot. Because I've traveled on my own a lot, but I haven't been someone who's led students or led other people. I've just sort of wandered around on my own. And so I am aware now of like where do I get tickets for the bus and how to plan ahead for getting museum passes and tickets for the train. I'm in the process of doing all the paperwork for the upcoming trip, my trip. So I must say I have a great deal, even more respect for Professor Wilcox and for Dr. Peters for all the effort they put in to prepare us and to prepare the students for this trip.
One of the difficult aspects of this job, but also simultaneously one of the most wonderful aspects of this job, is being able to produce a vision, if you will, of what the honor students should go through. And the humanities class is our so-called travel class. So typically, as I understand it, that's the class where you, the students and the instructor, sort of set forth an agenda about what they're going to do in the destination cities. And it's associated with study, so we'll read some books, some articles, things like that, put together a plan. But I think what this trip did for me is change that sort of paradigm for that class. And I'm actually considering the government, the art history, and the literature class as part of that humanities class. And so we'll be meeting in the next couple of weeks with the instructors and the department chairs for those three disciplines. And so that's where I'm going to articulate to them what my vision is, government being sort of a foundational aspect of how we live our lives, and how ideas, philosophical ideas, artistic ideas, ideas from literature and so on, affect oftentimes the way we govern ourselves and the institutions that we put in place. And the other way around, our governments affect the ideas we have, how we have the ideas, where we have the ideas, and so on. So I'm asking the instructors of those classes, the third semester classes, to actually collaborate. I'm telling them the destination we're going, and they're going to start introducing and weaving in some of these ideas.
I think as a director, the trip, as I mentioned earlier, was absolutely invaluable. One of the best things that could have happened to me in terms of just having a job much less an educational job, and being able to use what I learned and pass it on. The most important aspect of it, not to be cheesy, but was the actual reaction of the students. That was cool. Seeing or knowing some of the stuff that you were taught in class, and then seeing you go to those destinations and be able to not just recognize but identify with and talk about and synthesize some of the information and sort of incorporate it was amazing. There was this moment, where were we? I think we were in the Duomo, I believe, when some of you guys were going down to the catacombs, and some of the UT students were coming up, and they were not as well informed as you guys were, and the Honors Central students started instructing them. That was a cool moment. And then personally, I think there were a couple really neat moments. I think by far my most favorite moment was when David Wilcox informed me that we were in Venice and we were at the St. Mark's in the Basilica. And David Wilcox informed me that the grave of Claudio Monteverdi was there, and I interrupted my conversation with, I believe it was Thao, which was also a very interesting experience. But I just cut off the conversation and I just made a beeline toward the grave, and I got to see it. That was cool. I'm a classically trained musician. It's been a huge part of my life, and medieval Renaissance music has always been very important to me. And Claudio Monteverdi was, of course, the master. He lived in Venice and he revolutionized ancient music. Well, what we call ancient music. We have the modern opera because of Monteverdi. And when I realized he was buried there, I had no idea. It was just complete shock and surprise, and I went to go see it. It was absolutely beautiful. It was behind bars, but you could take it.
Well, going to Florence and Venice is always an amazing adventure. In Florence, I think my most favorite moment was the very first night that we walked around the city from one end to the other. It was great to see the city that I've been to many times before through the eyes of people who haven't seen it before. And so our very first night we walked in the moonlight to the main piazza and up the main shopping boulevard to the Duomo complex. And there was just an audible yell and yip and sigh when the Duomo came into sight. People just could hardly contain their emotions, and that was wonderful to experience with them. Personally, I always get excited when I go into St. Mark's Cathedral. I've never spent a lot of time there, and I think this time I spent more than I've ever spent before, and that was a lot of fun. But going to the museums in Venice was wonderful, something that I hadn't done much of before. And then just traveling the city. The whole city is a picture postcard. Everything, you could, every place you turn, you could take a picture. It's one of the most phenomenal things about that city. In Florence, beyond that, I think it has to be the gelato. I mean, I think every night we went out for gelato, that was always a great treat because we were relaxed. It was the end of the day, and of course, it was wonderful. It was a wonderful treat.